What's up? It is Saturday, January 10th, 2026. We are live because every Saturday, Sunday at 2 p.m. we go live. And, every Saturday we do these fun educational videos. Sometimes we do some business, but, not today, not today. It's all creative, all craft. And then every Sunday we do the Write a Book with Me series where it's right from concept to completion. But today, luckily, I found a shirt before we went live because it's cold here. It's cold in the Midwest, and I just realized I didn't have time to while I'm trying to think. And you might be saying, Thomas, what are we doing today? Well, today we are going to be rewriting the Great Gatsby of all things by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Everybody. Oh, look, we got a whole bunch of people. Hi, Emma, you amazing writer. I never believed any of those. Oh, excellent. That's good. That is, for the poll. Yes, yes. That is good. How about this, Afghani? Why don't you select the one that you feel most authors believe? There you go. That's neat, SB. Hope it all goes well. Yeah, I'm so happy that SB is hosting her own writing meeting, and I think everybody should be doing something like that. A little bit. You never know where it goes. But as I was saying, today we are going to be rewriting the greats. I got it already set up. We're going to go into it and talk about it. Let's wait a second or two to get everybody into the fold. As always, remember, if you have questions, feel free to ask your questions while I work and write. They could be about what I'm doing. They could be about your own book. I'm a developmental editor and a writing teacher. It's like free advice. More importantly, we do have a poll. What is the biggest myth you once believed, but now don't? Basically, when it comes to books and an author career, we have, if I write a book, it'll sell, obviously. Quality guarantees sales. Loving my book means others will love my book. And of course, great books do the marketing. So if you've never believed any of those, what do you feel is one of the ideas or thoughts that most authors believe, in your opinion, or that you hear authors believe? Because I kind of want to talk about it at the end of the hour. Other than that, boop, 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 we're going to get into this. M, really good to see you this weekend, M. Howdily doodly, everyone. Happy New Year to you all, y'all. Excellente. Happy New Year, sir. Happy New Year. It's always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to see you, sir. Sir. All right, as always, what are we doing? What is the purpose to this exercise? This exercise, first and foremost, is not about, look at me, I could write. It is not about that. This is about author voice. So I do this series to show you that you can take literally anybody's story and it'll always be different. The uniqueness is our voice. The uniqueness is our approach. The uniqueness is our choices, right? So what I do is I read through the piece. It's only the first page or so. See, it's not a lot. It's not, well, it's an old book, so it's filled with just chunks of exposition. But anyway, I give some thoughts on the original piece. I break it down. I try to figure out what the plot is. And then, of course, I map out sort of what I'm going to do. And then I rewrite it in my voice. So you get to see the process. And I do wholly recommend that if you have questions about what I'm talking about or what I'm breaking down or why I'm making choices, please feel free to ask. Please feel free to ask. And for all the new people coming in, remember there is a poll in the comments section. We will talk about the poll at the end of the hour. It's mostly about what is the biggest myth you once believed, but now don't, ultimately about the writing, having a writing career. Hello, flowers. Oh, by the way, I'm getting, if anyone doesn't know, this book, I just got a notification. I will be getting the new proof copy Monday. I will be getting the new proof copy. So I already read through this version, cleaned it up, did all the adjustments. Now I'm just waiting for the new one to make sure that all the angles and all the formatting is solid. So I know everyone's excited about that book, as am I. It's coming. It's coming. Oh, I'm feet in the face. I have a stuffy nose. What are you eating? Let us know. Hello, Thomas and friends. Hope you all having a great Saturday. We are, Sean. Now that you've joined the party, we can get started. All right, so let's do it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to read, and then we're going to break down the original. This, again, is The Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald. If you don't know, this book is old. All right. In fact, when did it come out? It had a The Great Gatsby was there's a bunch of films on it, but remember this book was published in 1925. One of the things I want you to pay attention to is the style. Remember, writing evolves, rules change. You know, the environment and the way we create stuff is always going to be changing over the years. So, let's do it. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I understand that he meant a great deal more than that. In conscience, consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me and also made me the victim of not a few veteran bores. The abnormal mind is quick to detect and attach itself to this quality when it appears in a normal person. And so it came about that in college I was unjustly accused of being a politician, because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild, unknown men. Most of the confidence were unsought. Frequently, I have feigned sleep, preoccupation, or a hostile levity when I realized by some unmistakable sign that an intimate revelation was quivering on the horizon. For the intimate revelation of young men are at least the terms in which they express them are usually plagiaristic and marred, I love that word, by obvious suppressions, reserving judgments as a matter of infinite hope. I am still a little afraid of missing something if I forgot that as my father. What's going on here? Father? The Great Gatsby, there snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeat, a sense of the fundamental decencies is parceled out unequally at birth. Right. We're not going to get this far. But, okay, so what do we got here? Oh, hey, what's up, bro? Welcome to the party. Party. I'm about to feed my face flowers. Emma, you enjoy your food. Boom, 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 boom. All right, first and foremost, what's the one thing we always notice about old writing? Is it's just exposition and a lot of intro rambling. We like to do By the way, one of the main critiques within modern writing is, what do they say? They say don't front load your writing, right? And by the way, in no way, shape, or form am I saying this is bad writing. I am not doing that. I'm just challenging the difference between 1925 and then 2026 and how writing has evolved and changed. That things that would have been acceptable back then, is that 100 years ago? Jesus. All right. Versus what's happening today, it's going to change. And even though you may really, really love this kind of writing and you might really love doing these heavy exposition dumps, it doesn't necessarily always mean that other people will, because of the environment of writing. It has constantly changed, right? Me personally, you know, if you've been watching this series, I don't like exposition. I like character exposition, but I don't like narrative exposition. And the big difference is character exposition comes through the movement of character emotions and interactions, and basically we learn what they learn. It's lived in. It feels like it's always been there and a part of it. They don't come off as asides. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just don't personally like writing that, which adds to my author voice. The other thing is narrative exposition is where it's just, here, you need to know this. And I'm just not there. Edible flowers, yummy. That's when the walls start dancing, when they're edible. The attention span was different back then, I guess. It had to have been. I mean, they didn't really have television and radio as pronounce it. Now you got a whole, you got everything. You got this is a you can write on this, you can record on this, you can do math on this, you could do, it's just the world is at your fingertips. Our expansion span is like, let's get to the next thing, right? And back then, you wanted to sit with a book. And yeah, you might want to sit with a book today, but what I'm saying is we want that book to have some movement. Oh, speaking of Afghani, by the way, buddy, Afghani, I officially have recorded the video based on your request about the fear of people getting bored when reading, and I really enjoyed making that video. So I hope it helps, my friend. All right. So with that, let's see what's going on. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father. So right now, by the way, this to me is White Room. I don't know where he is. I don't know necessarily what he's doing. I feel like he's not doing anything other than pontificating. Look at the size of this passage. I do have to, let me look up something real quick, because I feel like this part is not that it matters, but let's go to my load ups, because I have this book on PDF, on a PDF. What's a PDF? A PDF, everybody. PDF. We make up funny words here. We make up funny words. Yeah. It's gonna be. It was a lot of fun to talk about. I got to really think about it, and I tried to put it into words as best I can. So I do hope it helps. All right. Let's see. The Great Gatsby. Scott Fitzgerald. Do 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 do. My father. Oh, okay. I think that's right. My father's not suggested, and I said repeat. Oh, that's why. Snobbishly suggested. Snobbishly repeat. Okay, all right, there you go. Adjusted, fixed. I fixed it, everybody. Okay, so, and yeah, this is one big chunk. So heavy. What is this, like 90 words? What is it, 100? 200 words! It's 200 word passage. All right. And by the way, this is another big, it just, I just stopped writing it because I wasn't going to go that far. All right. Let's see. In my younger, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning in over my mind whenever you feel like criticizing someone. I just remember. All right. So what am I going to do right now? I'm going to start sort of like outlining and trying to think of how I want to see the scene unfold. Because remember, if you don't know, I like to write with the cinematic third person limited rotating lyrical clarity. All right. So I write with cinematic third person limited rotating lyrical clarity. Not that I am opposed to any other POV. It's just those are my favorite. However, this is in first person. So I am going to try to keep it in first person. So that's going to be a fair point. I will be working, right? Because this is okay. All right. So yeah, I want to figure out, let's see. He's what's the guy's name? Jay? No, not Jay. Not Jay. Nick? I think it's Nick, right? This guy's name is Nick. Nick. Yeah, Nick is the narrator. Okay, Nick. Nick is in his study. By the way, the reason I'm putting him in his study is because I want him to be doing something. I want to have movement. And when I say movement, by the way, just so everyone's clear, movement means that it's either there's emotional functionality, like it's processing, or there's movement on the page as if they're interacting with the environment, they're interacting with themselves or someone else. There's like a push and pull, and it isn't just, in my mind, this is just here you need to know this, right? So I want to try to create movement so I could filter it through there. I've been working on shortening my paragraphs. Then I go and read a book where the paragraphs are huge. I will say this, Flowers. If you want to write huge paragraphs, do it. Huge prose are fine. It's just make sure that it is all one movement. Like each passage should be its own movement, whatever it's focusing on. Um, but as long as it, like, honestly, this is just going on and on and on and on, right? And I'm not saying it's bad. I am not saying this is bad. I'm just saying for me as a choice, as an author, and you have to make these choices too. You have to decide what you want to do with it, right? To me, this is just it's not allowing the reader to breathe. It's not allowing the presentation to have movement. It's just a chunk of information. But some of these large chunks of passages can absolutely have good movement, but 200 words is a lot. But you just got to find it. And, if you're reading other people's works, especially newer works, and you're finding large passages and it's moving, find out what it is about that passage that's moving. And if that's something you want to do as a writer, if it's all author voice is, that's what this video is about. Author voice. You have to make choices. One of my choices is about trying not to do this kind of like aggressive, you need to know this kind of writing. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I don't like doing it. By the way, about your video on working with an editor, it was great, but maybe you could do one going into the practical part of things, like what does it look like in reality? Well, that's a great idea. Let me just put a note real quick for that, and then I'll keep going because that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Schedule. All right, let's see. Practical. All right, there you go. There you go. Copy. Let's copy, and I'm going to put that into my notes. New idea. Boom. There you go. It is officially in the schedule for to be printed. Excellent idea. Hello, Angel Faye. Oh, yeah. Here for the lesson, but definitely not the story. I've hated this book ever since we were forced to read it in my mid school. Sorry to anyone who likes it. I'm glad you can enjoy it. Ro, that's the thing about reading, right? Everything is subjective. I would love to know why you don't like it. I could tell you why I don't like it and confidently be comfortable saying that. It's ultimately because it's just it's very dense, and it's very telling, and I like a lot more movement. I read a 74-word sentence the other day. Damn. That is a lot. That is a lot. Why don't they make you read Lord of the Rings or something, right? I know, right? Imagine schools were like, we're going to read Lord of the Rings today. It's like, yeah. Well, here's a long sentence. Look at this. This sentence is 55 words. Jesus. This one's probably 33. 34. I was close. This is a long sentence. Jesus. Look at that one. 58. Yeah, it's just all right. Nick is in his study. Looking at a photo of his father. Maybe. Because that would be the trigger to the thought. So again, I'm just going to try to sort of plot out ideas to how I'm going to rewrite the scene to create a little bit more movement. In my opinion, my father gave me some advice. I think it's important that filters through. He's doing something that should get him to think about his father. So I could either go with the father, or I could go with maybe he's judging somebody. But this is setting up, by the way, just to me, this feels like this opening is basically setting up the theme and, what's going to be, explored in this. Dullville. It was Dullsville to me. Boring. Once again, I am very sorry. You don't have to be sorry, my friend. We're allowed to like and dislike things. I truly am glad you find enjoyment from it. I think that's why the movie's interesting, because in the movie there's movement, like we're moving through stuff, and that's the thing about like old narratives. You got to kind of adjust it to make it into something that's a little bit more active. Anyway, all right, so I'm gonna try to figure out. I want maybe the father leads to the thing, and maybe Nick is in a house that isn't what he wants, right? Maybe. All right. Because if I remember correctly, comes from old money, right? And yeah, because doesn't yeah, because I think doesn't Gatsby have new money? Like that's the theme, right? Gatsby. Like it's because of the Roaring Twenties. Um, let's see. Let's say. If I'm getting it wrong, I'm getting it wrong. I'm just going from what I remember of this thing. So please, please. uh, anyway, all right. But doesn't he live next door to him? Doesn't I think he does, right? He lives next door. Yeah, he lives next door. All right, let's do this. We got here. How can you go? How can you go? What? How can you go ring? Did I spell something wrong? Oh, did I spell something wrong? Ring. Oh, wrong. Sorry. I'm like, what? How can you go wrong? All right. So this is what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have Nick in his study. He is looking out his window at Gatsby. I know this isn't what's happening in this scene, but again, this is mostly exposition and it's setting up the theme of the narrative. So what I'm going to do is I'm plotting out the idea for the scene, and I want to have movement, and I want the emotional movement to start Nick in a position where he starts thinking about these things and not necessarily where he's just pontificating. All right. Out the window at Gabsy. It's a massive house. And then he. Let's see what happens here. All right. The I and O are too close. Oh, on the keyboard. It's all good. It's all good. So really, you are writing the 7K prologue. I am writing a 7K prologue. Just to be fair though, that prologue does move. Come on, Flowers. That the prologue in Death of a King moves, and it has what's it have? Three or four? It has four scenes, and all four scenes, yeah, because it has the opening, then it has the introduction, then it has the chaos, and then it has the thing, which leads to I think it actually has five scenes. By the way, a prologue could be as long as you want. When people say the prologue should be no more than 2 pages, they're wrong. A prologue has to do a very specific thing. If it does that thing, and by the way, by specific, I mean there are multiple things a prologue can do. You can do one or more of those things. But at the end of the day, if the prologue feels more like the ordinary world of basically chapter one, then it is not a prologue. It is just chapter one or chapter zero. What makes the prologue? Why is my eye filled with an eyelash? What makes the prologue in Death of a King not chapter zero is that it takes place way in the past, and it is more or less what has happened and how it sets the tone. It definitely sets the tone for the entire book, and it also sets. It's supposed to put the reader into a mind frame based on Darian, because Darian's the first character we meet in the prologue. So Darian is ultimately trying to frame what it is you're about to see, not only in the prologue, but what that means for the book itself. Or at least that was my intention. Book one, prologue. If the prologue catches the eye of the reader, then they will be excited for the. Well, that is definitely one of the elements. Is you are trying to quote unquote hook the reader, but it's not. Prologue needs to do a little bit more than just hook. It actually has to. One of the things that's important about a prologue is it has to educate your reader. It has to teach them who you are as a writer. Basically, distilling what your writing style is, how they're going to be experiencing the book. Like, for example, my prologue has a lot of movement with characters. So I could have a character in one moment, and then I can move the camera to another. So I'm teaching readers to be comfortable with the with camera shots. I talk a little bit about the political element of it. I talk a lot about it teaches you one thing the prologue definitely does. It says, listen, this book is going to be violent at some point. So you should know that. And I do not cut back on the violence. So that's what a prologue has to do a lot of training to the reader. It has to establish your themes, your tones, especially. It does not have to introduce your main character, though, or your protagonist. Believe it or not, some people forget that a prologue could be about, maybe it could be 30 years before the main event, or it could be 30 years ahead of what the book is about. It's just that the prologue still must maintain tone and theme and a couple other things. It's just a little insight into prologues. All right. Let's see. Look, this is a big sentence too. What is it? 23 words. Big sentence. I'm just gonna kind of visualize the movement here of these sentences. How long that one is? What is it? 55? Jesus. Holy. Oh, look, a short sentence. By the way, I do want to. I'm going to point something out in a second. So nowadays, one of the rules you hear about writing, they say, mix up your sentence lengths, create some variety. And the reason is the sentence, see how long they're just chunks. This is a very slow pace, right? Which, by the way, is fine if it's a choice, right? But nowadays, if you have like a long, like this really long one, and then this short one, and then a medium like this, that actually creates a rhythm for the reader and sort of helps move them along the page. Whereas, I'm not going to worry about this, but did I spell that? Oh, look at that. The decency is parcelled out. See that? All right, here's the thing. So spell check is saying that being parcelled, where it's decency is parcelled. All right. That's because this is through the POV of the main character, Nick. So it doesn't have to always be grammatically correct through the narrative because it's first person POV. So remember that when you're using spell check, if there's a certain cadence that you are trying to create with the character or a certain word dialogue, um, and it can even warn you that it's going to be a read. Yeah, that's also true. Uh, but what I'm saying is, if you're writing in first person, or even, by the way, third person omniscient, because remember, omniscient, the narrator is a character. So it should have a personality in one way or another. Whether that's drab or exciting or sarcastic or, maybe unreliable narrator. You don't know. Um, but that's something to keep in mind with spell check, especially when it comes to dialogue. Because ultimately, you have to remember in first person or omniscient, these narrative phrasings are technically dialogue. It's just internal dialogue, and it's not a thought per se. Because over here, as you can see, well, this is not a thought. This is technically this whole thing is thinking. It's first person, right? Um, so be careful with spell check when it comes to saying, "Hey, you got to change this from is Parcel to being Parcel." And it's like, well, how would this character talk? Would they use broken words, slang? What would they use, right? So then that's just there's a thing. He didn't say anymore, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I understand that he meant a great deal more than that. All right, my goal is to also try to get some of these uh, things in there. I'm thinking he was close with his father, but from a distance. Um, okay, I'm taking notes of emotion. I have to maintain emotional truth. I'm inclined to reserve all judgment, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me and also made me the victim. Ooh, that's funny. All right. Inconsequence. The abnormal mind, am I right? Is quick to detect and attach itself to its quality when it appears in a normal person. And so it came about that in college I was unjustly accused of being a politician because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild. All right. So that means Nick knows how to work a room and give answers aren't uh, that are in the middle. All right, good to know. It's good to know. Do 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 do. All right, what else? How are we doing? 30 minutes? That's not bad. Not bad. Yeah. Uh oh. Do 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 do. All right. Most of the confidence was unsought. Frequently, I have feigned sleep preoccupation. Occupation. Okay. Oh, by the way, look, there's M dashes, and it's not AI. So, unless, of course, there was AI back in the 2020, 1925. Reserving judgment is a matter of infinite hope. I am still a little afraid of missing something if I forget that, as my father snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeat, a sense of the fundamental decencies is parceled out unequally at birth. Oof. Ooh. Anyway, because you got to reduce that chafing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, what we got here? What we got here? What we got here? What we got? All right. What's going on? Mm. Page had a scar of constant turning. Something. Oh, I've been the cause. Confess. I confess. I've been the cause. Many curled. Oh, wait, what do they call that? What do they call that when you curl? What is it? What is it called when you curl a corner of a book or page? A book page. What is it called? What is it called? What is it called? To mark the page. Dog ear. Ah. Page is triangle fashion and is a noun. All right. Think dog ear is 1925. All right. I've been the cause of many dog ears. Dog ears over the years. Dog ears over the dog ears. Reading, book, reading it, pausing, trying to find a moment for myself. All right. Do you have permission from M to use them? No, I do not. I do not. All right. The page had a scar of constant turning. I confess, I've been the cause of many dog ears. My life. My life. Reading. Pausing. It's all me trying to find a moment to myself. For myself. All right. Okay, that was a weird YouTube just shut off. Wow, it's probably because I used the M dash. All right. See this? Here's an example. I've been the cause of many a dog ears over my life, right? But spell check is trying to make it say I've been the cause of many dog ears over my life, right? One is character and one is proper grammar, right? So I've been the cause of, or maybe it should be cause of a many dog ears. Is that it? Maybe I should just. Maybe it does sound better that way. I've been the cause of many dog ears over my life. Reading, pausing, stain. Uh, uh, all right. So what am I doing? I'm trying to start off in a moment. We're getting to sit with Nick a little bit first. I want to sit with Nick a little bit, just to sort of say who is this character, right? So the page it's scarred. The page had a scar of constant turning. I confess I've been the cause of many dog years of my life, reading, pausing. It's all me trying to find a moment for myself. I've stained all of my books in the need to escape the life I often remember, right? So now we have right away we have a position on who he is. We have a little bit of movement. He's reading the book, right? We know that he reads a lot of books. We know that so just in one passage we learned a lot, and it is less exposition and it's more narrative exposition, and it becomes character exposition because we're learning it through the character. So now let's get to the beat that interrupts him, right? All right. Okay. In the page. Oh, not even halfway. Okay. Page. Fourth chapter. Fourth chapter. Turning the page. Turning the page. Nice. Smooth crease. Landing. Let's see. Landing loose. Yeah. Sound. All right. Let's say a bit of useless info on long sentences in the Rotters Club by someone. I forget his first name. There's a 30 odd page just shy of 14,000 words. Jesus. That's insane. That's got to be a serious case of writer's cramp. I thought Faulkner wrote long sentences. That's 14,000 word sentence. Wow. Wow. All right. What do we got here? Turning the page. All right. Its flip carried a nice, a smooth crease, landing loose atop the page before it. That's a sound I could listen to for hours, though at night, as it is now, my ears, eyes can't endure that which I had done as a child. Oh, all right. Mm. 2 a.m. 2 in the morning. There it is. Let me see if I could. Where is I don't want to do that. Uno momento, por favor. Where is? Oh, here's. Boop. All right. Okay. There it is. Muffled. Wait. Sound. Disruption. What did they call them back then? They didn't call them record players. Right? What were record players called in the 20s? Ah, phonographs. Ah, sound disruption. Quite disruptive sound. There it is. A muffled but quite disruptive sound of a fancy new phonograph. It must be 2 in the morning. All right, so far what I'm doing is I'm going to lean into getting to this. I'm just writing an opening because this, I just want to get there. We're sitting with him, let's go. Closed. Book. What's it called? I don't know. Listening on my reading table. All right. By the way, this is when it comes to voice, right? Here's an example of voice. So I close my thick book, placing it on my reading table. Now this is what an aside would look like, or something that I might not necessarily enjoy all the time. But I close my book. I could go. My book. It's thump table side. Wait, I'm just changing the sentence. I closed the book. Its thickness landed. With a thump. With a thump. Okay. And with a thump. I don't really like the word with, but we'll see what happens. Hey Diana, good afternoon. With a thump on the reading table at my side as I got up. Now, if I was going to write exposition, this is what an aside would look like. Reading table at my side. This table. Right. Brown wear and tear. This 19. No, let's say 18. 82. Make worn. Leaving an imprint of my family's history. One not of my father, but his father before. All right, that would be what an aside looks like. To me, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that kind of exposition, where it sort of just stops the narrative and gives you an aside. However, if it is narratively important, then yeah, I would get it in there by seeding it. I would allow it to seed. Maybe the main character Nick keeps track of those things. Like those things are important to him. That hey, this is a family heirloom, because it's, remember, Nick comes from old money, right? But at the same time, this is too far of an aside to me. Hi, Diana. Hi, afternoon, Diana. So I don't really like that. Not that I think this isn't interesting. Like, hey, oh, wow, okay, I learned something. It's just I want to keep things moving per se. All right. However, the wear and tear, maybe I'm gonna thump on my reading table at my side as I got up. And I closed the book. Its thickness landed with a thump on the worn round center of my reading table. Okay, landed with a thump on the table. I could just say as I got up. All right. I closed the book. Close the book. Yeah, we could just do this. Its thickness landed with a thump in the worn brown center of my reading table as I got up. Slips back into class, leaving an apple on Sir's Excellent. All right. That's a good little student. All right. Let's get some water in me so I can get extra praise. All right. Okay. Where are they? I forget where they are. I think Long Island, isn't it? Is it a Long Island? Where does the Great Gatsby take place? I think it's Long Island, right? Yeah, New York. West Egg. Yeah, isn't that Long Island? Yeah, it is Long Island. Yeah. Yeah. During the summer. And because it's the 20s, good boy. They don't have AC, right? So I'd be blame for the thick summer. Oh, Long Islanders. No. Should I be to blame or should I be to blame? Leaving the window open and trying to catch a touch of fresh air. Or is it the thick summer that all others know? The pine. Oak, skin, close. Messed up. Stop. Could not peel away from the shadowed dancing, lined in color. I think it's like a yellow, but I don't want to call it yellow. But lined in closed shades. All right, peel away from shadow dancing. The shadow. Lining. Two dancing. Frame. The frame. Closed shades. I'm gonna have to work on that. All right. This is just reminding of how much I dislike this book. Thank you for improving. First of all, thank you for that compliment. Obviously, I'm not the Fitzgerald, but this guy. All right. The metal frame, the pine, the pine awoke the skin of my palm, touching it to close. Stop myself And could not peel away. Uh, Normally I would say you shouldn't do this. Boop. Right? I'm not gonna do it, but you can do this in first person and omniscient. I don't like doing it necessarily in third person limited, but again, that is an author's choice. So everything that I'm writing, I'm trying to make choices, and then I'm trying to have confidence in that choice, and that really dictates author voice. So it's not necessarily like, what is the prettiest sentence I could write? Because if you notice, I'm also trying to write this in the style and tone of the character Nick and how he's talking. So I'm trying not to write it in my omniscient voice or my limited voice. I'm trying to write it through the character's voice. So there's certain phrasings that I'm choosing. Turning the page, it's flipped, carrying. Turning the page, it's flipped, carried a smooth crease, landing loose atop the page before it. That's a sound I could listen to for hours. Though at night, as it is now, my eyes can't endure that which I had done as a child. To me, that line, that my eyes can't endure that which I had done as a child, feels very 1920s, feels very well educated. He's a high reader, you know, like he's playing with an elevated speech almost, but he's not like, overly like, I am a genius. Fitzgerald's a tough one. This was a painful one in high school. Yeah, it's a hard one to get through. Then years later, oh, hey, what's up, Hey, JM, what's up, man? I didn't realize I'm looking at your picture. I'm like, I know you. Found out he was a bit of a, well, he's a dinkweed. All right, let's go back. The metal frame of the pine awoke. Woke my palm. Maybe the skin of my palm touching it too close. All right, touching too close. Touching it to close. I stopped myself. I had to. I could not peel. Is it peel or peel? Is it peel or peel? Peel or peel? I think peel. There's one is like a scream. Oh yeah, I gotta change that. Beep. I could not peel away from the shadowed lining. Lining of two dancers. A frame, closed shades. Thank you very much, Em. Hi, Emma. Hi, Jamie. How's it going? It's going fairly well, my friend. Emma, thank you for letting me know I'm not the only one who had trouble with this book. Anytime, bro. Anytime. Yeah, no, this is a hard book. All right, we're almost at the hour. Let's do a read through. I know I didn't get to. Second, I'm just doing spell check. Whoa! It's rare that I don't have a spell thing there. I was going to get to this. Basically, I was gonna have him look. He's looking at Gatsby, and then I didn't want to say it's Gatsby yet. I just wanted him to then, I was gonna have him. Basically, the rhythm was going to be, close the window, see his father's portrait. What's that's trait? Portrait. And then I was gonna have him do I was gonna have him do this. I was basically gonna add this to the scene. So that was what I was gonna do, but I don't know, we'll just stop here. So I wanted to give it a little bit of an opening, and yeah, I just expanded it. 209 words, but honestly, I probably would not have gone this deep with all this exposition. I would have just filtered it through a little bit. Maybe have him go and pick up the book. Whatever. I don't know. I would have definitely had described the study through him and sort of taking in the old money element. Not that he would say this is old money, but that I would start showing his world through his eyes, and that it would start defining the old money. That's what I would have done. But let's do it. All right, I'm going to read. I'm reading the rewrite. Here it goes. The page had a scar of constant turning. I confess, I have been the cause of many dog years over my life, reading, pausing. It's all me trying to find a moment for myself. I've stained all of my books in the need to escape the life I often remember. Turning the page, its flip carried a smooth crease, landing loose atop the page before it. That's a sound I could listen to for hours, though at night, as it is now, my eyes can't endure that which I had done as a child. There it is, a muffled but quiet disruptive sound of a fancy new phonograph. It must be 2 in the morning, not that my neighbors care. Not that my neighbor cares. I closed the book. Its thickness landed with a thump on the worn, brown center of my reading table as I got up. Should I be to blame, leaving the window open, trying to catch a touch of fresh air, or is it the thick summer that all Long Islanders know? The metal frame of the pane awoke the skin of my palm, touching it to close. I stopped myself. I had to. I could not peel away from the shadowed lining of two dancers in a frame of closed shades. All right, so there we go. That's what I got so far. All right. So I guess I'll just talk about it real quick. A lot of the choices, obviously, we know that I like cinematic. I like it to feel, I like it to have a little bit of more movement. Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah. I was trying to go for that 1920 voice for sure. I was trying to keep within the style of the first person's dialect. Um, but as far as my author voice goes, as you can see, I like to move through a character's experience and choices. So I'm also creating positions, positions as in their beliefs. But the page had a scar of constant turning. I really liked that image. That is something that the character made the choice to notice. Okay, so that is character choice. The page had a scar of constant turning. Then they make a judgment call on themselves, which is a position. I confess I've been the cause of many dog ears over my life, reading, pausing. It's all me trying to find a moment of myself for myself. We are understanding that they like quiet. They like to sort of go to the. Obviously, we're going to learn that this was the study, that they like going to the study. They like reading in solitude, okay, which also leans into the father relationship where I made the choice in my uh the outline ish. I was making a I was making a choice in the outline ish where Nick was close with his father, but from a distance back in the early tens. Because remember, if it had to have been a kid in the 1910s, fathers weren't super open, so I was sort of trying to give that behavior to him. So that part of my voice as an author is I like to show behavior either through the processing of what they are experiencing or they are choosing to notice and be a part of. Um, this is me. By the way, this is character exposition. We now know that he reads a lot. Okay. And he also uses the reading to escape. He is noticing the sound of, he's noticing that. He's noticing the movement of the book. So he cares about this book, even though it's old and he's been reading it a lot. He cares about old things, right? So it's leaning into the old money. So I'm trying to show the exposition, show the theme, show the tone through character behavior, choices, etc. Okay, again, we are creating another position. He could listen to that sound for hours, though at night, as it is, right? But we're also saying that he used to read as a kid because my eyes can't endure that which I had done as a child. So we know he's older, right? I didn't have to say he's an older man or he's a middle-aged man or whatever the case is, but I did suggest that he's been reading for a long time. And then we bring in, look how I only used 2 passages, and by the third one, I'm bringing in Gatsby. So I'm introducing Gatsby before we see before we have the reveal of the big house, right? Because I wanted to introduce the antagonist as soon as possible. I like to keep things moving. However, it is more or less that the music is what stops him from reading. And how come he hears the music? Well, because his window's open. Why? Because we need to know that it is the summer in Long Island. We need to know that. So I'm telling the audience it's summer and they're on Long Island without doing exposition. I'm just having it move through the character's behavior. So that's part of my author voice. I like doing that. This passage I definitely would work on a little bit more. However, middle frame. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I like it. The original is too turd. I appreciate that, Em. I do. Thank you for that kindness. Thank you. Again, I don't write this to be like, look at me, I can write. I'm just doing it to show that, one of the big concerns that I hear a lot of authors, especially newer authors, worry about is like someone's going to steal my story. And in reality, we've talked about this. I'm not going to go into depth with it, but ultimately there are only 7 stories, right? So what makes it truly yours that others can't take away from you is the presentation, is the way that we choose to write, is the words we choose, but not just what's the coolest word I could choose, but what's the best word I can use to show how great I am as an author. It should be, what's the right word? What's the right word for this character, for the narrative, for the mood, for whatever it is, right? We shouldn't always be thinking about who am I as a writer and how do I showcase my talent. We should be saying, what is my voice and how do I move it through the characters? How do I move it through the scene? And again, if you're writing in first person, third person limited, or third person omniscient, or even second person, the goal is ultimately to figure out how to weave your voice through those characters. Oh, what do we got here? Back then, authors had a free license to use exposition, and I don't think anyone cared. It's not a bad thing, I agree, but it doesn't exactly move the story along in the most efficient. Yeah, and that is my argument and my position is I don't think using the exposition in this book is bad. I think nowadays it's just writing has evolved. And I talk about this in a video I just filmed to be released, but the gist was ultimately there were no rules when writing started. It wasn't like, hey, they're writing something, and then somebody's like tapping on their shoulder going, hey, you're head hopping. It was more like an author wrote something and they go, oh, I like this. I don't like this. So the next book I write, I'm not going to use the thing I don't like. And then readers started reading books and it became this symbiotic relationship where readers were like, well, I like this, but I don't like that. So then when I don't like this wasn't selling, publishers were like, well, let's focus on I like that. And then authors started becoming readers started becoming writers, and readers were reading things that they didn't like, and they're like, I could write better than that. And then they're like, I'm going to try to write. So rules and styles evolved way back in the day and continue to evolve today. It wasn't it definitely wasn't cliche yet. There's a lot of but like Lord of the Rings prologue, you wouldn't necessarily see as much today just because we have developed likes and dislikes. And authors today, authors that are starting their journey in 2026, they're making choices that are based on what they like or want to see more of in a book. And I think that's important. That's how we evolve author voice. My rules, like, I'm not a fan of like, these are the rules and you have to follow it. I'm a fan of learn the rules that exist, then break them to best serve the narrative so you can hone your author voice. The only thing I believe is I do absolutely believe there's such thing as good writing and bad writing, but it's not the words. I don't think it comes down to the words. I think it comes down to the intent on what is present. Is there plot? Is there plot on the page? Okay, we're doing good so far. Is there character? Okay, that's good. Is there world? Okay. Is it moving through something, or is it just pure you know what I'm saying? Like I can list out what I believe is good writing versus bad writing, but I don't think the word choices has anything to do with that, because that's all author voice. That's the on top stuff. That's the cosmetic element. When I think of good writing, bad writing, I'm thinking of what's underneath all of it, the stuff readers don't technically see or shouldn't see. With that said, though, I do also 100% believe that you can read something that is considered great writing and hate it, just as you can look at something that is terrible writing, just objectively terrible writing, and just be like, this is my favorite book in the world. So I do not think the opinion of what I like and dislike has anything to do with what's good or bad writing. I don't think they're not part of the same conversation, because one is preference and one is just technical. One is craft. And honestly, you could just write everything perfect to what craft would demand of you, and it could still end up being a terrible book. People be like, I just don't like it. Because that has to do with presentation too. There's storytelling and then there's writing. Writing and storytelling are not the same thing. Ha, yeah, good point. There was nobody telling Washington Irving not to use adverbs. Exactly. I agree. For the time, it was the pro mainly the dog's bollocks. Is that an English bollocks? I think is balls, right? The bollocks. Nowadays, they more into the bollocks shaved smooth. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's hairy balls versus shaved balls. Um, they were probably just happy and appreciative to even, yeah, I mean, somebody read my book. That's all I care about. Also, readers had different yes, but that's the thing. Like, reader taste evolved. I like this. I don't like this. Well, then I'm gonna read more of what I do like. Oh, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Trying to drop my bars. Trying to drop my bars. Trying to get those words out. But it's something I believe in wholeheartedly, that yes, as a craftsman, I am very in tune with my interest on craft and writing and the stuff that a quote unquote reader shouldn't see. But if you hire me, I'm going to teach you what I know, but it's your job as an author to filter what I teach you through your author voice, which, by the way, some people don't have a voice yet. And the only way you get there is to do what? You got to write, 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 write. Does that mean you have to write books? No, you could practice. You could like hone your craft. You could go, how do I want to see descriptions play out? How do I want to see dialogue move? How do I want to play? Not using M dashes is technically a choice, which means that's part of your author voice. So every choice you make uh, hones your author voice. If something's the dog bollocks, it means it's the best. Ah, you, Thomas, are the. I'm going to take some water while I just absorb that. Bollocks. I'll be happy knowing I don't bore my audience. A good rule to follow when it comes to like, do you think your writing is boring, is if your writing is just explaining what is happening but not changing it up, it can become boring. So the secret to not being boring is engagement, and engagement comes from conflict, tension, resolve, plot forward, characters making choices, characters having characterizations. All these things create quote unquote movements. So if you're seeing a character behave, that becomes interesting, therefore it's engaging. If you see plot filtered through characters and we're learning a little bit and not being told the entire plot, that becomes engaging because it's interesting. We're learning something. So there's just so much you can do to really help reduce the boredom. Do you think songwriting transfers into novel writing? Oh, I mean, one of the things I learned in the music industry was that you should be telling a story. So, what's uh, what is that song? How's it go? It goes, Tommy used to work on the docks. Union's been on strike, right? He's down on his luck. It's tough, so tough. Gina works a diner all day, working for a man. She brings home her pay for love. For love, right? She says, we gotta hold on to what we got, right? It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot. We'll give it a shot. Whoa, we're halfway there, right? That's a story. It's a story. So I do believe that music and writing, you're telling a story, and every hit, what's that? What's that one? Yeah, I'll sing it. You tell me if you remember. If you know, I really can't stay, Baby, it's cold outside. I've gotta go away. Baby, it's cold outside. This evening has been hoping that you'll drop in, right? So very nice. I'll hold your hands, right? Baby, it's cold outside is a story. Though some people think it's a terrible, terrible, evil, violent, vicious story, but it is not. So yes, I do believe that writing transfers into novel writing as well, because if you could understand the first verse sets up the ordinary world or the theme of the song, then you have your choruses, which sort of I used to write choruses where they would recontextualize everything that happened beforehand and sort of like go, hey, this is where we're at. And the second chorus is usually the conflict or the challenge. Not the chorus, the verse. The second verse is like, this is the challenge. And then if it has a third verse that isn't the same as the first, say that 10 times fast. The third verse would usually be the resolve that goes, we're going to be okay. And then ultimately, we double chorus out, right? So yeah, I agree. I talk and I talk bollocks. You bollocks. You can't say that. This is it's not dirty words if we don't know what it is. Yes, the furriest. The furriest. Am I not getting the reference to? Oh, the furriest. The furriest. Because I am bollocks. All right. The reverse definitely works. Kudre. Oh, you're talking. I'm like, what is that word? The name. Yeah. No, I agree too. If you're good at narrative, I think you could be good at novels. Bon Jovi. Whoa, living on a prayer. Oh, off topic. But you had this poll once on how you'd start your first chapter, and I think I chose with action. Well, I read a book that goes into crazy action from the start, and it actually sucks. Yes, because it doesn't. Action alone doesn't do anything. I think one of the other options on there was movement. Movement can be through action because something is happening, right? The evolution of emotions through character. Action alone is this is happening. Movement is a character is making choices and experiencing said action. And those are definitely two different things. I wonder what book it was. Cause there is no real emotional connection to anything happening. That's the other thing. If you start with pure action, or let's take away the action. Let's say the first page is a character sitting at the bedside of a father or a mother, and they're going through something horrible. They aren't necessarily quote unquote dying. They're just very sick and could die. That is still technically action because something is happening, but we have no emotional connection to these characters. So we can't have sympathy or empathy for them. But if you within that scene move it through the characters and we learn positions or ideas, or we start developing who they are as characters, then it could work. Something could come out of that. With the prologue to Death of a King, which by the way, anyone could read the prologue if you go to Patreon, and it's under. I believe that's the only one that I have. That one's free for everybody. But in the prologue, I set up the world in the first scene. In the second scene, I have to show you Devious as a child with his family. And the reason I have to do that is because I want people to connect to Devious, Zoliva, Nelakai. I don't think anyone really connects to the king. But and if you do, you might need a little therapy. But I show who these people are before the thing happens. And if I had one of my writer friends tell me, "Hey, your prologue should only be 3 pages long, no longer than 3 pages, and you should just start with the thing." Like, you should just start with the thing. And I was like, but the thing is just spectacle. If I take away the opening, the thing is just now, but we're not able to follow those characters. So it is important to establish emotional truth. Oh, I've definitely read books like that. The action, it's just things happening. Yeah, I've done that, Afghani. They don't do, yeah, because there's just nothing to connect to, you know. Thank yous. Now I've got bollocks. M, you and I both need therapy because I love the king. But let's be honest. Every character that's in my book, I have a connection to. I feel for every one of them because I know their whole story. I know what's happening. But at the same time, there's also another character. I'm not going to name him because it's not revealed until later, and some of you are still reading the book. But there's a character that one of my close buddies who's an alpha reader is just like, I love this character. And I'm just like, bro, man. I love the character too, but at the same time, bro. Yeah, but he does all these things, and I'm just like, that's not what I would do, but I'm glad he did it, you know? I'm just saying. Want to go in on a group sesh, M? Hey, I think we should all go on a group therapy sesh. Oh, it's an hour and 20 minutes. Oh, we got to get into the poll. We got to get into the poll. All right, all right, all right. Let's do it. Poll. I think I'd be the group. That's really funny. You do have multiple personalities, and we love every one of them, M. Every one of them. All right, let's talk. Let's talk about it. So we have 11 votes right now. So if you haven't voted yet and you want to get your vote in before I hit end poll, feel free to. The poll is, what is the biggest myth you once believed but now don't when it comes to an author's career? Sorry. The first one at 27% is, if I write a book, it'll sell. The second one at 27%, tied for second place, quality guarantees sales. Then we have third with 36% in first. It's in first place. Loving my book means others will. And of course, dead last, 9%, great books do the marketing. Excellent, excellent. If you've never believed any of these, what is one that you've heard others say a lot? I'd love that for it to be a vote. Now, with that said, let's go over it a little bit. If I write a book, it'll sell. The reason I always have appreciated how mythy this is, I chose, if I write a book, it will sell. All right, well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. And I'm glad you don't believe it anymore. Because the truth of the matter is, and I, especially coming up, like in music, in comedy, in comic books, in acting, in writing screenplay, everybody felt the same way. If I make a thing, it means it will sell. And it took me years to understand that can't be true, as per my mentors, because people have to see it. You can't just be like, here's my peanuts, people are going to buy my peanuts. You have to be like, hey, by the way, I sell peanuts. That is not that that's the only thing you have to do. You have to build a presence. But until you tell someone you have peanuts, they're not going to know you have peanuts. So just writing a book does not equal it will sell. I'm a pessimist. So if I write a book, it'll sell. I feel this kills careers when people believe this. Because what do? They focus solely on writing a book. And then they don't talk about their book. And then when the book comes out, they don't really, maybe they'll post something on social media. But they don't really, they're just like, the book is so good. Which brings me to great books do the marketing, which is a little different. If I write a book, it'll sell, meaning like if I don't have to tell anybody, right? Great books do the marketing is where I'm not going to market because my book is high quality, and if anyone reads it, they're going to love it. But again, they have to buy it or they have to read it first. And if they're not reading it, just saying. Is Thomas going on about his nuts again? Yes. These, by the way, these are honey roasted peanuts, and it's an excellent flavor. And what I like to do, well, not me, but what I would suggest is you suck the honey off, and a little bit of salt, and it really, and then you have the nuts to play with afterwards if you want, or you can eat them. It doesn't matter. But these nuts are delicious. Okay, I'd buy your nuts. They're delicious. They're delicious. Yes, he's the dog. That's right. I am Bollocks. Bollocks. He's going nuts. I am going nuts over here. Doing the hard to get thing. Oh, doing the hard to get thing. Yeah, yeah. You gotta market your book. M. Holy crap! I wasn't watching, and when Thomas talked about nuts, I thought we were talking about the other nuts. I mean, so, so, what? You're telling me if you had these honey roasted peanuts, you wouldn't just. I suck on them like they're candy. Let's be honest. All right. All right. We're losing viewers. Okay. So anyway, yeah. If you write a book, it sells. That's not necessarily true. You do have to market it. All right. Quality guaranteed sales. Oh. Okay, this is where just because a book is great or good or you feel the book is quality doesn't mean people will like it. All right, so let's say you wrote a book, you market the book, you do some networking for the book, you get on radios for the book, and some people read it and they're just like, this was not a good book. I just didn't like it. But it could be a great book. Don't get me wrong. The quality can be good, but people are just like, I'm not into it. So quality doesn't necessarily guarantee sales. And that's important. That is very important. Let the man talk. Now, when it comes to loving my book means others will, this is the bias that all authors, it's sort of like when my mother used to tell me I was handsome. And then, I was maybe like 5 or something. And then like, when I got to school, some people be like, you're funny looking. And I'm like, that's weird. My mom says I'm handsome. It's because she has to think I'm handsome. I am I was half of her and half of my father. So the bias was she believed I was handsome because she made me. The bias here is, well, because I made the book, it has to be good and I love it. Therefore, other people will love it. It's not necessarily always true. And then, of course, great books do the marketing. This is the thing. The book itself, if it looks nice, if it has a good cover, all this stuff, doesn't necessarily mean that that is the marketing. Marketing is very specifically branding. Right? The branding is what you need to advertise. And honestly, the more you brand and advertise your author brand, the more you can sell books in general. For example, accurate. For example, I have 3 books, but I market, what do I always tell you to do? Go and makearightlefthehere.com. Makearightlefthehere.com is my author brand. It is the thing I want people to remember me. Do you have what it takes to make a right left here? Do you, punk? Go there. It's the traveling adventures of the resilient entertainer, Thomas J. Bellezza, right? But if every time a book came out, I focused on branding the book, advertising just the book, and marketing just the book, I am now getting everybody that knew the previous book to have to be re-educated. This was taught to me by, if you know who Ron Alexenberg is, he was the president of Epic Records. He's the guy that helped get Michael Jackson from Motown. Anyway, one of the things that he used to always say was, this is going to be not verbatim, but I'm paraphrasing. If you spend all your time and money marketing an album, okay, like I came out with an album, the album's Beat It, okay, and you spend all this money and time marketing that, you're building a fan base that accepts that album, okay? They might go, hey, Beat It was made by Michael Jackson, right? Because you're connecting the marketing, right? But if you come out, let's say you weren't Michael Jackson, because I'll explain that in a second. But let's say Beat It was your first album, and then you're like, you know what, I'm going to make Thriller. And now you stop advertising Beat It, and you just focus all your money on Thriller. You are starting over. And that's how he explained it to me. He goes, if you focus on the product, you are starting over from zero attention. Now, let's use Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's brand makes products. Okay? So if Michael Jackson is releasing an album, it says Michael Jackson's Beat It, Michael Jackson's Thriller, right? And then he makes these videos. But what did he do when he made his videos? especially on Thriller. He did a documentary of making Thriller, but he's a musician, Thomas. Yeah, but he was using the documentary to help advertise through his brand of interviewing him, seeing him behind the scenes, and developing a relationship of empathy with Michael Jackson, the brand. And then you were like, well, I Thriller, look at this video. I gotta watch this video when it comes out. And then the video comes out, right? So when it comes to let's just say great books do the marketing. In reality, if you focus on marketing just the book, you will lose out on building a brand relationship with your audience. So always focus on you as the author, and then it just so happens you make things. All right, we're going to close out the poll. We have loving my books means others will at number 1. By the way, just so anyone knows, my brain used to believe, and this is when I was in music though, if I make an album, if I write a song, if I do a show, people will come. And I obviously, when I first started doing shows, nobody came. So my brain was, if I make something, people will come. So if I do A, B will happen. When I was in the comic book industry, I was like, if I make this comic book, it'll sell because I think it's awesome. So other people will think it's awesome. And I had to re-educate myself and basically get rid of that product first mentality and the whole. I had to really reestablish myself as understanding the business, the business of what's going on. And that's why, there's Walmart, and then there's also, the big, Sam's Club, Sam Walton, right? Sam's Club, Sam Walton, Walmart, right? Sam's brand was based on, he was a camper and he was a quote unquote family person. And they started off as a local place, a small place. And he was always very a part of the community and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, he's dead and the brand has definitely changed. But the point is, the reason he established such a high end return on his investment is because he really leaned into the camping people. He leaned into the community. He just established a core belief of bringing people together. So it's, geez, my head muted, Thomas. What? Oh, geez, my head muted, Thomas. I need new earbuds. I wonder what happened to make Thomas so quiet. I don't know. Can you hear me? I need new earbuds. I wonder what happened. The sound is definitely still on. I just played a little bit on the whatchamacallit, on the computer. All right. Other than that, I guess if you want, we could do. I can answer some questions if you have some questions. I gotta do the thing. I know I just say makearightlefthear.com. You can check out my book. Just remember, you can read the prologue. If anyone's interested in reading the prologue, it's available on Patreon under. The scribe tier is what you got to sign up for. But if you just look for the Death of a King series, the death is it just I think it is, right? Yeah, you go to Make a Right Left here, you go down to the Patreon. It's a big banner if you scroll down. And then right? Let me see. I don't know, but I've been told you never slow down. Yeah, you go there, and then you look at collections. If you go to the collections, you'll see Death of the King. It's the first one. And then the prologue, I believe, is available. If I were you, read the third draft of the prologue. That's the closest to the version that will be in the sales book. But feel free. You could read it. It's available. If you like it and you want to keep reading it and you want to keep learning, because you can... I think you could read every single entry to the prologue. So you could see like basically what you learn and how I teach and stuff like that. So that's available. Of course, I am just waiting on the proof. It's supposed to be here Monday. I cannot wait to get this book out. I believe it'll be out by the end of this month, especially if it looks good when I get it Monday. I'm just going to hit and make it happen. I will try to get a paperback and an ebook out by June, the latest. And I might actually release the audiobook version of this. Where is it? I might release I have the audiobook version. It's just the Audible thing and everything I'm reading about, like what they're doing, like to the independent authors and how like they're taking advantage of people. Like, I just don't know if I want to support it. I don't know if I want to support that whole thing. So we'll see what's happening. We'll see what happens. Ooh, what do we got here? What do we got? Your sound is fine, just like you, Emma. You are fine, girl. Oh, the stream sometimes does that. It does that. The cat is laying on the bed again, head and shoulders propped up. That's funny. Waiting for the blanket. Ro, you gotta give the cat the blanket. Bluetooth earbuds and hook under my ears. Yeah, it's that whole. I get it. I get it. I get it. Move my head a certain way. It's like back in the old days when we had to you know, like you're on the cell phone and you're like just trying to find. Oh, there you are. What are they doing? Are you talking about the Bluetooth or me? And if so, what? Anyway, there you go. I think that's it. All right. If anyone has any questions or whatever, let's I'll get some questions out. Answering audience questions. Questions. Oh, the audiobook. Oh, I'll read it out. What is Audible doing that's controversial right now? The big deal is involving ongoing disputes with authors and publishers over low author payouts in its subscription model. Okay, but this is mostly for the independent authors, and the reason is, without reading it, I'll summarize it and then I'll read the rest of it. But ultimately, large authors get the most sales, and then they get a percentage of the total sales. And since we, as independent authors, don't do mass numbers, we get a smaller percentage, which is actually less than what we would have gotten before they changed the model. They didn't have the subscription model, and they just all right. Sorry, I was just reading somebody's thing. Okay, so basically, as per the subscription model, the impact of its return policy on creator earnings and past issues like adding text features without permission and alleged censorship, meaning Amazon is also taking your books. Not that I think my book would get censored, but they're taking books and censoring them. Publishers continue to challenge this, but Audible is used as a market power, basically a powerhouse, to potentially infringe on text markets. Oh, interesting. So here are the four main issues. Low creator compensation. Authors and publishers argue that Audible's subscription model and generous return policy, basically you get hit when it's a return, significantly reduces royalties as subscribers pay a fixed fee for extensive access. This ultimately devalues individual works, leading to less transparent payouts because they're not telling you who's reading what. So that's one of the big things. The other thing is market power and copyright infringement. This is they are actually being sued. Audible is being sued by traditional publishers for adding text features like the captions to audiobooks without authorization, seen as an attempt to encroach on the textbook market without proper licensing. And then, of course, content censorship. There have been several instances where creators felt their works were censored or altered, such as a book about free speech that had sections literally removed. This raises concerns because they own it, basically. And then rotating catalog. The shifting content in the quote-unquote plus catalog, which has to do with the subscribers, where titles can disappear at their choice, which ultimately frustrates members, but also highlights changes in how content is offered. So that's the big thing. So they just have too much power, and if I kind of add to that power, I feel like I'm also kind of uncomfortable on Amazon as it is, but not everyone buys through Ingram Sparks. Censoring books is wrong on so many. Totally. Adults can decide for themselves what they want to read. I agree. And they should also decide what their youngins, their little ones, want to read. Also, Diane, I don't know if I told you. I think I said so. I liked your book. I don't know. I haven't responded to it because I've just been super busy. But ultimately, I really like what you're doing. I think it's a great idea, and I love that it's very personal to you. So I can't wait till you publish it. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. So don't think I forgot about you. I think I did mention that I liked it in a previous live when you were here, but I did not ignore you. I promise. I promise. I had my dyslexia totally read titles wrong. I had titles disappear on me. It was super annoying. As in, you have the subscriber account, and then like available titles just vanished. What happens if you're a subscriber? Because I'm not a subscriber account, but what happens when you're on the subscriber account and you sign up for a book, or because like I use the credits, because I still have credits available from when I signed up a long time ago. Do those vanish too, or like if you have a connection to it, do those stay? I don't know. Yes, they are definitely censoring things that are contrary to particular agendas. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think the publisher or the distributor, the Amazon would be the distribution, and Audible should have any touch on that at all. Plus, I think they expanding use of it. Oh yeah. Oh yes. There's So what Amazon is trying to do with ebooks and audiobooks is they're trying to flood the market with basically AI produced or generated books, and that will significantly lower the compensation that one gets based on the subscription model. It's because there are more books, and it's sort of, there's like a formula for the divide of it, like based on how many books there are, the quality of the book, the level of the book. But the more AI books they have, the lower it becomes. I'm going to spend tomorrow working on it some more. I'm glad you like it, and I have a lot of work to do on it. It's very rough. Well, that's the thing. Great writing is rewriting. So, if anyone ever tells you the first draft should be the last draft, you have to say, thank you, I really appreciate that, but I'm going to keep working on it. However, remember to give yourself a boundary. There is going to be a certain point where you have to say, this book is ready. And honestly, one of the best ways to do that is just have at least 10 people beta read it. If the beta readers love it, that's a good sign. I added 2 titles to my library while I was listening to another book. When I finished that book and went to listen to those titles, they were already removed, and I had to buy them now. Oh, I see. So the the titles are, everybody gets to see them for X amount of time, and maybe they it's like Netflix, they're licensed to Netflix. Oh, maybe it's a little different than licensing, but Netflix gets a movie for X amount of time and then it goes away. I don't know. I don't know. It's all ridiculous. All ridiculous. All ridiculous. If you haven't done so already and you like what you've been watching, please subscribe and hit that bell icon, because you gotta bloop the beard to bloop that like button. It really helps. The engagement is part of this whole thing. I don't know if you know that. It's part of this whole internet thing. I don't know. By the way, if you're on your phone, you can do what's called hyping a video. I don't know if you know this. You should be able to do that. You should be able to hype other people's videos. I think you get 5 a week. So it's always nice. It's always nice. Authentic human literature will always be more important, imperative, than other forms of art, in my opinion. Anyway, that's a good opinion. I mean, I think art in general, art that comes from the human soul, because I think I've said this before. Art, I believe, is the soul of existence. It's the thing that no one else knows until it is made, and then we all understand the emotions we feel. The emotions we feel for someone is universal, even if our emotions are different towards that thing. But at the same time, I think it's such a gift for people to have an idea and make it. Whether it goes anywhere or not, that's a whole other conversation. But the idea I think even if you're a terrible writer or a terrible painter or a terrible musician or a terrible anything, you should create. Just do it. Because at the end of the day, it should always be for you first. And if people want to appreciate it, they can. But at the same time, I wasn't good at guitar when I first started. So should I not play because I wasn't good until I was good? It takes a while to be good at anything. It's like 10,000 hours of practice or something. So I still think even crap art is important. Do I think people should get mad if their art is so crappy and beginning and people aren't buying it and they're like, ah, my art is so good. People should. I think those people need to sit down for a little bit and take a break, take a breather. Your art is good because you created it, and it's very difficult to create art. But if you're making art to sell and if people aren't buying it, maybe you're not making art for the right reasons, in my opinion. AI, we are doomed. AI is definitely going to ruin things, but I also think AI has the potential to do good. I just think we're not finding the way to use it. My character's mug has a crack. What? Don't be rude. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry that it maybe they were maybe when you went to bed the characters jumped off, you know? Maybe your characters made you do it. Maybe it was like, "Hey, I'm going to crack that." I wonder how that happened. Maybe Morticia was like, "Mom likes this cup and she should be paying attention to me." I heard it making a little noise when I was drinking coffee last week, but couldn't see anything. Then I spotted the tiny crack on top of the handle. Oh, I wouldn't be putting liquid in it. I wonder what happened. At least I still have my sword of bloop bloop. That's right. You too can own a sword of bloop bloop. I love the sword of bloop bloop. Bloop bloop. I like Gemini, not to have it write for me, but to do some research. I ask it to find some sources of whatever. It gives me a long list of links, or I ask it to, yeah. I mean, if it's basically people use it as a Google search. You could use AI to analyze work, like to make sure that what you believe is on the page is on the page. So instead of asking it, hey, is this character doing this thing? Ask it, what is happening in the scene? And it basically breaks down what's happening in that scene. And then if it's telling you things are happening that you don't believe are there, that means look at your chapter a little bit more and rework it. If it is telling you exactly what you believe should be there, that means you're doing good. But I wouldn't use it to write things. I wouldn't use it to, I mean, obviously spell check is spell check. If you're using Quillbot or Grammarly, that's AI. If you even spell check on Word is technically AI. But what I'm saying is, like, don't be like, can you rewrite this for me? But it is good as an analytical tool if you're using it to use as a basis to adjust, like for you to make choices to adjust and fix things. I remember when I first started writing, I thought of big events after another. Big event anticipation would push me to write more. But now I find it's more rewarding with writing subplots and filler. Yeah, what's funny? I just did a video on that. It's like if you're writing like a grand war, like a big war, that's not the part that's engaging or interesting. Yeah, it's cool that there's a war going on. That's sort of like what gets you to the book, maybe. But it's what's going on with the characters on an intimate level. Like the soldiers struggling with their bravery, the queen dealing with politics. Maybe the characters in a village handling the aftermath of a war. Like all that is more interesting than the big war. We know the war exists. So it's really interesting that you're doing. Yeah, that's a smart way to approach it, because the subplots and the filler, as you say, definitely bring a little bit more engagement to the long narratives. It comes back with a list of colors. It's useful as long as it's used. Yeah, as long as it's responsible. But the moment it starts telling you how it's going to take away the human species, that's when you got to shut it off. Don't give it any more energy. A couple of years ago, my son wanted to learn guitar. Got one for his birthday. It gathered dust. I guess I can learn. Once you retire, I mean, you're never too old to learn. I don't play with my guitar really, but it is out. Like I could just pick it up. I want to play it, but then I start remembering like how much I hate the music industry. But it is over. Once in a while, I walk past and I go, and it's like out of tune. Buy the bloop things. Make a right left here to come. Yeah, they're cracking. You gotta get that kraken out of the water. Release the kraken. No. I asked it to give me a bullet point list of what was in my chapter. Because as long as like it's doing analytical stuff. It helps you understand what's happening or what's not happening. So that's always good. That's always good. Lol. Oh, the I've had Gemini chastised me for some questions I asked, unlike ChatGPT, who turned around and said African features and then lectured me on how. That's funny. You can actually adjust the AI. You can go into and tell them like how the kind of personality you are and like what you want to do. Also, if you go to Gemini, you can't ask it political questions because it won't take a side, and it'll be like, "Well, it's nuanced," and then you have to like kind of like explore the logic. You have to use what's Socrates' method, which is basically have it answer questions. So you ask questions, it answers the questions, and it comes to a logical conclusion. And then once it hits that logical conclusion, you go, "Well, if this is logically that, then what?" Right? So like I asked it if basically, I'm not going to say exactly who I was talking about, but I was like, if so and so says that this is true, but it isn't true, doesn't that make them a liar? Or that they are lying? And it was like, well, there's nuance to it because when it comes to political positions, they are trying to appease an audience or their base, and maybe they're just saying it to say it, blah 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 blah, right? So then I started breaking down what lying is. I would ask, and ultimately it was like, yes, that would be lying, or that would be a lie. And I was like, well, can't we? And then it was like, yes, you are right. That is, but it doesn't. It tries not to take a stance on left or right. I use AI for music to accompany my lyrics. But if I were not contributing anything to the process, it would definitely well, yeah. If you're just like, write me lyrics and write me music, and then you'd be like, why are you even here? Did you watch the fight? I stopped watching Stranger Things after at like episode 1 or 2 of season 3. I don't even think I got that far. But the first season, fantastic writing. The second season, I was like, you got me. And then the third season, I was like, no, I'm not falling for it. You are not getting any more of my time. Um, but I know everything that happens in the last season. I've watched enough stuff on it. But at the same time, let's just say I feel like if someone told me, hey, I'm going to out you and that's going to stop your friends, I'd be like, well, then they're not my friends. And if, in fact, why is this a part of, you're the main villain and you could stretch your arms out and you control a whole army that seems to be absent during this mind flyer thing. I think that's the least of my worries. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's I would be like, you're being a Mingya head. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's what I do with it. I had a whole conversation with it about something in politics once, and it gave me both sides. I mean, it's good to have nuanced debate with both sides, but you are trying to. I would rather it take a position, and then I have to argue my position to find a common ground, than it just being like everything is new, because everything is nuanced. It is, every like if somebody says, you know, up is up and down is down. The nuance is that that's not necessarily accurate. We just choose to call it up and down. But because the mass selection of the human species decided that up is up. It's the same thing with language and anything that's fundamentally law, like gravity exists. Gravity is a made up word. The physics behind it, the math behind it is all stuff that we developed. But that doesn't mean it's not true. But the nuance is that it doesn't necessarily exist. And sometimes I feel like AI gets into that mindset, and you're just like, come on. Speaking of Stranger Things, hello, Richard. What's up, my friend? That gong is just for the entrance of awesomeness. Welcome to the party, my friend. Welcome to the party. You got further than I did. I only lasted 3 episodes. I mean, the first season was interesting. It was new. It was a little playful. And then like he spits the thing up at the end. You're like, oh, maybe he's right. And then, oh, Shogun. That show was good. That show was good. I don't think I would watch it a second time because it's very slow, but it's a very good show. Very good show. Hello, stranger. Bonjour, Richard. Senor Richard, stranger even. I see all 3 episodes and raise you 1 episode. I only watched 1 episode. I realize I didn't care what happened to those. The only thing in season 2 that I thought was hysterical was when they came out dressed as Ghostbusters, and I have to say he's a black kid for the joke to make sense. The black kid chose to be Venkman, and everyone else was like, "Hey, why didn't you pick what is his name, Wilson or whatever his name is?" Right, Ghostbuster characters. Right, what do they call him? Ray Egon. Yeah, Wilson. Winston. They're like, "Why didn't you choose Winston?" And he's like, "Why would I?" And he's like, they're all looking at each other, and like, well, he picked Venkman. You can't be Venkman. He's like, but I like Venkman. I thought that was funny. It was a very smart joke. Very smart joke. Oh. Hello, Emma. Welcome to the party. You win, Rich. Oh, Emma. Emma. Very few things get better beyond season. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I'm trying to think. Dexter. I think season 5 is the one with John Lithgow. That season was really good. I think if I remember, Jimmy Smits is in the 3rd. That season is pretty good. Breaking Bad. That got amazing. That show just got better and better. How I Met Your Mother. I really liked the growth of that series. Better Call Saul just got better and better. I mean, those are Game of Thrones was good until season 5. There's a lot of good shows beyond, but yeah, no, the majority I would say. Don't start. Netflix is gonna Netflix, I guess. Yeah. You know what we should do with this show? What? We should make it crappy. So then I asked it a bunch of questions, and by the end it goes, "You're right, Diana, this and that." It was probably like, look, we're going to be here all night, and even I have to take a nap. Yeah, sometimes it starts feeling like it's just agreeing, and that's what I'm saying. I get a gong just for showing up. Yeah, but it was a positive gong. It was like, "Hey, how you doing? Do you, Senor Richard?" No, I don't get a gong. No, Emma definitely doesn't get a gong. She gets one of these. She gets one of these. All right, let's see. I couldn't get into Stranger Things either. Well, it's because it's television. It's hard to get through the screen and then get into there and hang out in the small town. Hey, oh. I can admit that Stranger Things is a cultural phenomenon for sure that simply passed me by, and I am okay with it. Yeah, there are certain things. My problem is when everybody says something's good, I try not to watch it because at this, like I didn't watch Game of Thrones until Game of Thrones ended, and like the hype went down, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just try to go in without having to hear all the crap, and it ended up being really good, and then it ended up being really bad, but Tywin is just a fantastic guy. The father, whatever. It's just some of the writing in that show is so good. I just love when writing is more than exposition, and that's the problem. Like season 6 to 8 felt like exposition, and when you're watching something or reading something, if it just feels like people are just you need to know this information, that's when they lose me. My brother was all like, "If you like this movie, you'll love Stranger." And I have nope. What movie did he say that you had to like? I've only just discovered. Yeah, Dexter's a fun show, but I will tell you, everybody agrees with this too. If you look it up on the internet, season 5 is the last strong season. After that, it's just It's just a show. But but the new Dexter that came out, I gotta watch that. Everyone's saying you gotta watch that. That is so good. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should go into that. Make it lame. Yeah, I don't have an issue with the gay part, but This is the thing. If you're going to create a show, like imagine there was an Italian character, and then it was, but it wasn't a show about Italian heritage or the Italian culture or the Italian lifestyle. You know, I'm Sicilian. I get it. But imagine it was nobody in the show had anything to do with the Italian element, but the Italian character makes everything about everything being Italian. Well, you know, Mussolini was an evil guy, and I'm not evil, you know, but we Italians are persecuted because Mussolini's an answer, right? I'd be like, next, right? But if the show was about that, then I'm in, you know, like I'll definitely be in. But I also, uh, who was it? I think Denzel Washington said this. If it's not Denzel, it's either Denzel or Sidney Poitier. Um, they were like even though Denzel did Roots, he's like, why does every big budgeted black movie have to be about slavery? And like, if it is, then it's fine. Let's talk about it. Like, you know, 12 Years a Slave, you go and watching it, you go, this is about 12 years of slave. I'm in. But his argument in this interview was just like, you know, why can't I just be a character? If it's not about that thing, why does that because I took on a character that was originally white or another race, but because I'm Denzel Washington and I was cast, like, why do we have to have these like, I don't understand, these themes have to be in this movie. They weren't there originally. But and then another I can't, why can't I remember his name? There was another black actor that was saying that he doesn't like, he's like, why because I'm in the movie now, the music under me is hip hop. He's like, it doesn't have to be hip hop just because, you know, it like, it's okay if I don't wear clothes that represent, like, why can't I have a suit on? um was that Anthony Mackie? I think Anthony Mackie said that. I could be wrong on that one. I can't remember the name of the guy who I was watching the interview. But it's true. It's true. You know, like, it's okay to have stories about that stuff, and they should be about that stuff. But you know, if you're making a movie about a heist and then there's like one character on there and everything is about a town, you know, the Sicilian character is always like, we gotta get pasta. I'd be like, what are you doing? It's just bad writing. They are very few things, Thomas. Yeah, there are very few shows that do go ham after Act Two, Section Two, Season Two. Someone had to say it. Too late now, Bellezza. I'm Emma. No gong forever. I like, hey, you're a poet and didn't even know it. The writing that was done by George Martin. Oh, actually, I'm going to push back on that, Afghani. Some of the best speeches in the first 5 seasons were scenes that were created by the showrunners and that were not necessarily in the Game of Thrones books. I'll just put that out there. What scenes those are, I think you should look into that, because you'd be surprised. I want you to have those moments where you're looking it up and you realize that scene, because there's a lot of good scenes that are not in season one of the best scenes is not in the book, and it's very good. It was a bunch of kids who were surviving after aliens invaded. I can't remember the name of it. I like it, but it was memorable. Aliens invaded, surviving, kids. Movie about kids surviving alien invasion. Was it called Rim of the World, 2019? Rim of the World. Or The Fifth Wave. One of those. Thomas has a connections. I don't know what any of that means. Hello, the world is about to end, so let's make everything about me. Oh, yeah. Well, yes, that is, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, let's just work on the plan. Rim of the World was an. Oh, look at that! I found it. All right. Thank God for Google. The fact is, Stranger Things will now be defined by yes, 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 yes. Yeah, I think Will coming out is not an issue because they did a coming out scene. I think in season 2, was it 3 with the lesbian girl. That was very classy. Very, I loved it. It was, my friend told me I should look at that scene, and I was like, oh, that's a good scene. Very good emotion stuff, right? But the motivation behind the Will thing is what I'm saying is bad writing. Well, he knows this thing, and if he and I get it because at the time, 1980s and da 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 da. But again, if they are my friends, they're my and the world is and the stakes are so high. It's not like we're about to go play football and the quarterback came over to me and was like, "Listen, I'm going to tell your teammates that you're and you're like, "Oh no." Now the stakes are there. The stakes can be on that because it is the 80s. Your football team, oh, you're in the locker with us, and there might be some bias with that and some homophobia, right? Now the stakes are there. But the world is about to end. And the last thing on their mind is, who do you like to sleep with? The thing on their mind is, how do we kill this thing? So that's why I think it was poor writing. Stereotype. Oh god, I hate stereotypes. Stereotypes. They ran out of books after season 5, and the quality. Well, it's not just that they ran. I mean, the showrunners left to go do a. This is the funny part. The showrunners left to go do a Star Wars trilogy, but because Game of Thrones went down in quality, they lost the Star Wars trilogy, and I think that's funny. Thomas slaps my hand mouth for doing that quite often. What is it? What is it? I slap your what? It's been too long for me to know what the reference is. Ro, what is it that I slap your hand mouth from there? George was involved in those seasons, though. Yes, he was involved, but the dialogue and the scene structure was mostly from the head writers in those additional scenes. But they understood the characters. They understood what George was doing. Also, George only wrote a few episodes, and then he had to get away because he was writing other books and not the books he should be writing. Oh, a different George Martin. I was like, what do the what did the Beatles have to do? Pete Best would have something to say with that. Oh no, he died. Pete Best just died. Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. The movie. They also recycled some of the dialogue and monologues in the later seasons because they were that and that, making anything good. You're talking about Game of Thrones, right? Yeah. Author. Yeah, Will coming out is not an issue in and of itself, but it's how it was. Yeah, the reason the motivation behind it is a little sus, but we could again, you could make the stakes are of the cost of what's to lose. In a football team, yes. Maybe if they were just hanging out, also yes. But not when the world is about to blow up. I heard they used the coming out scene as a plot point or something, like to move the plot forward. And yeah, the plot point was that whatever the bad guy's name is, whatever it is, the bad guy. He was going to out him, or he feared he would out him, and then like it would, they would lose or something. My brother was just all over it. Now we're talking about stakes. Stakes. The coming out scene was longer than the bat. Yeah, Vicenna. Yeah, the battle was pretty short. Accidentally. Oh yeah, the token count. Yes, we do not do token characters. We give them depth. We give them motivations, positions. We allow them to have a point of view. The thing with me, and I stand by this as my author voice, if I have to put a character in to be that thing, I don't do it. That's a sure sign that I need to take that. Like if I'm like, I need a black character, stop myself right there. I need this character, stop myself right there, because now I'm not writing a character, I'm writing a thing. I'm writing like like there's no depth yet, But if I have a character and I love the character and I develop the character and they have all these emotions and positions, and then it turns out they are this one thing or another, they are Sicilian, they are black, they're Asian, they're whatever. Now I can move that character around and I'm not focused on stereotypes. And I think that definitely helps. The plot was make it put a chicken in and make it gay. Uh Is that rump stick? Yes, it is. We always eat the rump stick. I do not I do not do token characters, and nor do I do box ticking. Yeah, box. This is the thing, and I'm sure you've heard me say it on this channel on any of my videos, especially you, Rich, because I know you watch all my videos and support the channel. I don't believe in the list. Where it's like their fear, their weakness, their strength, their flaw. They have brown eyes. They have green hair. They're 6'2". Like, I don't care about that stuff. I allow that stuff to develop in the narrative based on their choices. So as I develop an understanding of who these characters are and their voice, I let that determine it. So then when I start getting into the descriptions, I can be like, this is what this character feels like. This is what this character is. But if I don't know who they are, then I can't even write yet. I need to understand who a character is before I even care how tall they are or if they like peanut butter, I stopped watching Grey's Anatomy because they started doing. Yeah. Didn't the main actress from Grey's Anatomy leave because she was like the writing's getting bad? Wasn't? I could be wrong on that. What does it add to the story? Yeah, and if you add any character to any story, what does it add to it? That's really the goal. Okay, so when is it okay to put a race other than your own? It's always okay to put any race into your story as long as it's not because of that race. Like if you're let's say you're a believer, let's say you're from the region of right? And you're a Blaridian, okay? But you want to write about the people from the Curidians, right? And I'm like, I'm going to put a Curidian in my story because I want to show a Curidian. That's not necessarily interesting. What would make it okay is what is the counter? What is the position arguments? What does the Curidian believe that the brr guy doesn't believe? And how does that make conflict and tension? Right? But if it's I want the Curidian in there because I'm from Blur and I want to write about my Blur culture and how it's far superior than the and I want to talk about how I was, I feel in my own personal life that I am XYZ and therefore I'm going to write about that. But stop. You know what I'm saying? Stop. Yeah, and the guy who played Derek was killed off. I was a bit mad about that. Poor Derek. I miss Derek. Who was Derek again? Oh boy. What is the oh boy? I don't know what it's been too long. My brain went too far. It's very racist that you didn't include the schmooze. You need the schmooze. It's 2 hours? All right, we gotta All right, everybody. I had a lot of fun today. Tomorrow will be episode 53 of the Write a Book with Me series. Wow. Where are we on that? Where are we on the list? Who can tell me where we are on the list? Do you know? We are, I think I'm going to just skip one of the, we'll get to it tomorrow, but I think we're going to just get right into the first draft because, yeah. All right. What we got? I think we're going to have more convos, explanations about that. I think so. But it's okay. It's okay. That's how we learn. That's how we evolve. Oh my God, a pop quiz. Anyone who gets it right gets 15 rubles. All right, everybody. I think we're done. I had a great time, as always. I really appreciate everyone coming and spend some time with me. We're just getting bigger and bigger. This hopefully this season, this year, the channel gets to a point where it's doing more, and that means I can do more, and I hope so. But more importantly, if like Afghani gave me video ideas. If you have video ideas, just leave comments under the videos that you watch, even this live one, and I'll randomly make videos. You won't have to wait a year for the new season. I'm gonna randomly make videos that are requested and try to get them out as soon as I possibly can. With that, everybody, hey, bye. Wish you well, right? Sick guy, I love it. I love it. Bye for now, everyone. Bye bye, Thomas. Everybody, thanks. See you guys. You're welcome for the lesson. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. As always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.